a frail 19-year-old girl, cheeks hollow from chemo, huddled on a grimy sidewalk with her handmade paintings spread out like desperate pleas. She's been disowned by her own family, left to scrap together pennies for her next treatment. Passers-by sneer or ignore her until a single dad with a little boy in tow stops dead in his tracks. What he does next, it's unthinkable. And it sets off a chain of events that delivers the sweetest revenge imaginable. Buckle up, as this story will hit you right in the feels. If you've ever been kicked when you were down, dreamed of turning the tables on those who betrayed you, or just love a tale where karma strikes hard, smash that like button right now, subscribe for more epic Reddit revenge stories, and let's dive in. Trust me, by the end, you'll be cheering. This story comes from a Reddit post that's been blowing up lately, and I've fleshed it out with all the emotional grit to make it come alive. Let's call our protagonist Amelia. She's 19, fresh out of high school, and her world shattered 6 months ago when the doctor sat her down and said the word no one wants to hear: leukemia. The diagnosis hit like a freight train. Her hands trembled as she clutched the hospital pamphlet, her mind racing with terror. How am I going to pay for this? She thought, her stomach twisting into knots. Chemo sessions cost thousands, and her family, well, they weren't the supportive type. Emily grew up in a cramped apartment on the wrong side of town with her mom, stepdad, and 2 step-siblings. Money was always tight, but when the cancer news dropped, her stepdaughter, let's call him Rick, didn't even flinch. He was a burly guy with a perpetual scowl, the kind who barked orders and hoarded every dime. "We can't afford this," he snarled one night over dinner, his fork stabbing at his plate like it owed him money. "You're an adult now, Emily. Figure it out yourself." Her mom, weak-willed and terrified of Rick's temper, just stared at the floor, murmuring apologies. The step-siblings snickered behind her back, calling her the charity case. That night, Emily packed a single backpack, her eyes burning with unshed tears, and walked out into the cold rain. Betrayed, abandoned, powerless. She crashed on friends' couches at first, but pride and necessity pushed her to the streets. Art had always been her escape. She'd sketch vibrant watercolors of dreamlike landscapes, pouring her soul into every brushstroke. Now, it was her lifeline. Every morning, she'd set up on a busy corner downtown, her paintings propped against a cardboard box. The wind whipped her thinning hair, and the chemo nausea made her want to curl up and disappear. Passers-by hurried by, their designer coats brushing past her like she was invisible. Some haggled cruelly, $10? This looks like kids' stuff. Others pitted her with loose change tossed into her jar, their eyes avoiding hers. Inside, Emily seethed. Why me? Her thoughts screamed, I didn't ask for this. And my own family. They just threw me away like trash. The injustice burned deeper when Rick and her family showed up one day, a pure chance, or maybe fate's cruel joke. They were out shopping, arms loaded with bags from high-end stores. Rick spotted her first, his face twisting into a smug grin. He sauntered over, his voice booming loud enough for the crowd to hear. Well, look who's begging on the streets. Told you we couldn't carry that weight. Her mom averted her eyes, whispering, Emily, honey, you should come home. But Rick cut in, nah, she's made her bed, let her lie in it. The step-siblings laughed, snapping photos on their phones. This'll be gold on social media, one sneered. Emily's face flushed hot, her fists clenching so hard her nails dug into her palms. She wanted to scream, to shatter their perfect little world, but weakness pinned her down. That night, alone in a shelter, she broke. Sobs racked her body as she whispered to herself, I can't do this anymore. But I have to. For me, weeks blurred into a haze of exhaustion. Her savings jar barely hit $200 enough for one partial treatment, maybe. Hope flickered like a dying candle. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, as the sun dipped low and cast long shadows on the pavement, a man approached. He was in his late 30s, rugged but kind-eyed, pushing a stroller with a giggling toddler inside. The boy, about 4, pointed at Emily's paintings with chubby fingers. Pretty colors, Daddy. The model, let's call him Alex, knelt down, his brow furrowing as he studied her work. Emily braced for the usual pity or dismissal, her heart pounding in her chest. But Alex didn't rush. He asked questions. Did you make these? "What's your story?" Haltingly, Emily spilled it all: of the cancer, the abandonment, the desperate hustle. Her voice cracked, tears stinging her eyes. Alex listened, his face softening, then hardening with quiet fury at her family's cruelty. The toddler tugged at his sleeve, but Alex shushed him gently. Then, he did the unthinkable. Without a word, he pulled out his phone and made the call. Emily's pulse raced to what was happening. Minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up. Out stepped a woman in a sharp suit, clipboard in hand. Alex turned to Emily. "I'm not just any dad. I run a gallery downtown and specialize in emerging artists. Your work, it's raw, emotional. It speaks." He paused, his eyes locking on hers. "I'm buying everything here, all of it, for $50,000. Emily's jaw dropped, her breath catching in her throat. "But he wasn't done. "And I'm covering your treatments, full ride." "My late wife. She fought cancer too. Lost her 2 years ago. I couldn't save her, but I can help you." The world spun. Emily's hands shook as she signed papers, the woman's efficient voice explaining trusts and medical funds. Alex even arranged a small apartment for her, no strings attached. "Fight this," he told her, clasping her shoulder. "And when you're better, come work with me. Your talent deserves the world." As he walked away, pushing the stroller, Emily collapsed against the wall, waves of relief crashing over her. For the first time in months, she felt seen, valued. The fire in her gut reignited, and not just to survive, but to thrive. Months passed in a whirlwind. With proper care, Emily's treatments worked wonders. She beat the odds, her body strengthening, her art evolving into something fierce and unapologetic. Under Alex's mentorship, she launched her first exhibit. Galleries buzzed, critics raved, a phoenix risen from ashes. Sales skyrocketed to hundreds of thousands in the first year. She built a life, a cozy studio, friends who became family, even adopting a rescue dog. But deep down, the betrayal lingered like a scar. She plotted quietly, her thoughts sharp as knives. "They'll regret it. I'll make sure." Climactic revenge payoff. The climax hit at her big gallery opening, a glittering event packed with influencers and buyers. Emily stood tall in a sleek dress, her hair grown back in soft waves, confidence radiating like sunlight. Then, the door swung open. In walked Rick, her mom, and the step-siblings, faces pale with forced smiles. Word had spread they'd seen her success splashed across social media. Rick approached first, his voice oily. "Emily, look at you. We always knew you'd make it. Family sticks together, right? Maybe we can catch up." Her mom nodded eagerly, eyes pleading. The step-siblings shuffled, mumbling congratulations. Emily's heart thundered, but she kept her cool. A slow smile curved her lips. "Family? You mean the ones who left me to die on the streets?" The room hushed, heads turned. Rick blustered, face reddening. "Now, hold and know that was tough love." Emily stepped closer, her voice steady and cutting. "Tough love? You mocked me while I begged for chemo money. You photographed my pain for laughs." She pulled out her phone, projecting those old social media posts on the gallery wall, evidence of their cruelty, blown up for all to see. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rick's jaw slackened, sweat beading on his forehead. Her mom burst into tears, the step-siblings backing away like cornered rats. "And now?" Emily continued, her tone ice cold. "You want a piece of my success? Too late. I've got a new family, one that didn't abandon me." She nodded to Alex, who stood nearby with his son, arms crossed in silent support. Security escorted them out amid whispers and stares. Rick shouted empty threats, but the door slammed shut. Emily exhaled, a weight lifting off her chest. Triumph surged through her veins, sweet, validating justice. She wasn't powerless anymore. She was unbreakable. Stories like this remind us, karma doesn't always come fast, but when it does, it's poetic. Emily's journey shows that true strength rises from the ashes of betrayal, and sometimes, a single act of kindness can tip the scales toward justice. What goes around really does come around. To think about that next time someone needs a hand. Emily's world crumbled on a rainy Tuesday in late spring. She was 19, her cheeks still round with the last vestiges of youth, when the doctor delivered the news: leukemia. The word hung in the air like a death sentence, cold and unyielding. Her hands trembled as she clutched the edges of the examination table, the sterile smell of the hospital room choking her. "How bad?" she whispered, but she already knew from the pity in his eyes. Treatments would be grueling: a chemo, radiation, endless hospital stays, and expensive. Thousands upon thousands of dollars her family didn't have. Home was a cramped apartment in a run-down neighborhood, shared with her mother, stepfather Rick, and two step-siblings who treated her like an intruder. Rick was a hulking man with a temper like a storm cloud, always barking about bills and laziness. When Emily broke the news over dinner that night, the fork froze midway to his mouth. "Cancer?" he scoffed, his voice dripping with disbelief. "We can't afford that crap. You're an adult now, handle it yourself." Her mother, frail and submissive, averted her eyes, murmuring something about praying for her. The step-siblings, teenagers with sneers permanently etched on their faces, snickered. "Great, now she's gonna drain us dry," one muttered. Emily's chest tightened, betrayal slicing through her like a knife. She packed a bag that night, tears soaking her pillow, and slipped out into the darkness. Abandoned, alone, with the monster growing inside her. She survived on friends' couches at first, but pride and desperation drove her to the streets. Art had always been her sanctuary, vibrant watercolors of ethereal landscapes, born from dreams she clung to amid the chaos. Now, it became her hustle. Every dawn, she'd set up on a bustling downtown corner, painting spread on a tattered blanket, her body aching from the first chemo sessions she'd scrapped together with odd jobs. Passers-by ignored her, or worse, haggled mercilessly. $5? This ain't worth spit, one man barked, tossing coins at her feet. The nausea from treatment made her world spin, but she pushed on, whispering to herself, just one more day. Then came the day her family strolled by, arms laden with shopping bags from stores she could only dream of entering. Rick spotted her first, his lips curling into a cruel grin. "Look at the beggar," he boomed, loud enough for the crowd to turn. "Told you we'd be better off without the dead weight." Her mother hung back, eyes downcast, while the step-siblings pulled out their phones, snapping photos. "This is hilarious, they're gonna post it everywhere," one laughed. Emily's face burned, humiliation flooding her veins. She wanted to scream, to shatter their smug world, but weakness silenced her. That night, in a dingy shelter, she curled into a ball, sobs racking her frail frame. The injustice festered like poison, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. The autumn sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling downtown sidewalk where Emily had set up her makeshift gallery for what felt like the 100th time. Her paintings lay scattered on a faded blue tarp, their colors vibrant against the gray concrete, swirling blues and greens depicting distant forests and serene lakes, each stroke infused with the desperation of a girl fighting for her life. Her hands, pale and trembling from the latest round of chemo, adjusted a canvas depicting a phoenix rising from ashes. It was symbolic, she thought bitterly, though her own rise felt impossibly distant. The wind tugged at her thinning hair, hidden under a knitted beanie, and the chill seeped into her bones, making her shiver despite the layers she wore. The jar at her feet held a pitiful $47, barely enough for a bus ride to her next appointment, let alone the mounting medical bills that loomed like storm clouds. Passers-by hurried past in their pressed suits and designer coats, their footsteps echoing like indifferent drumbeats. A few paused, brows furrowed in pity, dropping coins that clinked hollowly into the jar. "Poor thing," one woman murmured to her companion, not bothering to lower her voice. Emily's cheeks flushed with a mix of shame and anger. She wasn't a poor thing, as she was a fighter, a creator, someone who'd been discarded like yesterday's trash by the very people who should have protected her. Her mind wandered back to that fateful dinner table, Rick's scornful laugh ringing in her ears. "Figure it out yourself," he'd said, and she had, hadn't she? But at what cost? The nausea from her treatments surged again, and she pressed a hand to her stomach, willing it to pass. "Just hold on," she whispered to herself, her internal voice a fragile thread of determination. One sale, one good sale could change everything. As the afternoon crowd thinned, a man approached, pushing a stroller with a curly-haired toddler inside. He was in his late 30s, with kind eyes framed by laugh lines and a jaw set in quiet strength. His clothes were casual but neat, a flannel shirt over jeans, practical for a single dad chasing after an energetic 4-year-old. The boy, wide-eyed and pointing, exclaimed, "Daddy, look, pretty pictures." The Mona Alex, as she'd soon learn, has stopped, kneeling down to examine her work. Emily braced herself for the usual dismissal or awkward sympathy. Her heart pounded in her chest, a rhythmic reminder of her fragile health. But Alex didn't rush. He tilted his head, studying the Phoenix painting with genuine interest. "These are yours?" he asked, his voice warm, like a gentle breeze cutting through the urban chill. Emily nodded, her throat dry. "Yeah, I paint them myself, trying to fund my treatments." The words tumbled out before she could stop them, vulnerability cracking her voice. She hadn't meant to spill her story, but something in his gaze invited trust. Haltingly, she shared it all, of the diagnosis that had upended her life, the family who'd turned their backs. "My stepdad said I was dead weight," she confessed, her eyes stinging with unshed tears. "They left me to fend for myself, so here I am." Alex listened intently, his expression shifting from curiosity to quiet outrage. The toddler tugged at his sleeve, babbling about colors, but Alex shushed him softly, his focus unwavering. When she finished, a heavy silence fell. Emily expected him to offer condolences and move on, like so many others. Instead, Alex straightened, pulling out his phone. "Hold on," he said, dialing a number. Emily's pulse quickened. What was this? Minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the curb, and out stepped a woman in a tailored suit, carrying a briefcase. She introduced herself as Alex's assistant, her demeanor efficient yet kind. Alex turned back to Emily, his eyes locking onto hers with intensity. "I'm not just a passerby," he explained. "I own a gallery a few blocks from here. We specialize in emerging artists with stories like yours. Your work, it's raw, powerful. It speaks of pain and resilience." He paused, glancing at the toddler, who was now contentedly munching on a snack. "My late wife fought cancer too, breast cancer. We lost her 2 years ago. I couldn't save her, but I can help you." The words hit Emily like a lifeline thrown into turbulent seas. Her breath caught, disbelief warring with hope. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Alex smiled faintly. "I'm buying everything, all your pieces. $50,000, right now." Emily's jaw dropped, her mind reeling. 50,000? It was more than she'd ever dreamed of scrapping together. "But he wasn't finished. And your treatments, I'll cover them. Full medical fund. No questions asked. My foundation handles this sort of thing." The assistant nodded, pulling out paperwork. Emily's hands shook as she signed, the pen slipping in her sweaty palms. Sensory overload hit her, the scent of exhaust from passing cars, the distant honk of traffic, the warmth of the sun on her face now feeling like a promise rather than a burden. As the transaction wrapped up, Alex helped her pack the paintings into the car. "When you're better," he said, clasping her shoulder firmly, "come see me. We could use talent like yours in the gallery, full-time, if you want." The toddler waved goodbye, his innocent grin melting something frozen inside her. Emily watched them drive away, collapsing against a nearby wall as waves of relief crashed over her. Tears streamed down her face, not of despair this time, but of overwhelming gratitude. For the first time in months, she felt seen, valued not as a burden, but as someone worthy of kindness. The fire in her gut, once dimmed by exhaustion, reignited with purpose. "This isn't the end," she thought, her internal monologue shifting from survival to ambition. "This is my beginning." The following weeks blurred into a whirlwind of transformation. With Alex's support, Emily moved into a small but cozy apartment he arranged through his foundation and no strings, just a safe space to heal. The building was in a quiet neighborhood, with windows overlooking a park where children played, their laughter a stark contrast to the silence of her former life. Her treatments intensified, but now with top-tier care, private rooms, attentive nurses, medications that eased the side effects. The nausea still came in waves, but she had antiemetics at the ready, and the fatigue was manageable with rest in a real bed, not a shelter cot. Each session felt less like a battle and more like a step toward victory. Her body, once frail and hollow-cheeked, began to regain strength. Hair started growing back in soft tufts, and color returned to her skin. Art became her therapy anew. In the apartment's sunlit corner, she set up an easel, pouring her evolving emotions onto canvas. No longer just dreams of escape, Her pieces now capture triumph in bold strokes of red and gold symbolizing rebirth. Intricate details weaving stories of betrayal turned to empowerment. Alex visited occasionally, bringing his son, Liam, who toddled around, finger painting on scrap paper. "You're a natural," Alex would say, critiquing her work with a mentor's eye. This only the storm breaking into light, it's gallery-worthy. Their conversations deepened. He shared memories of his wife, the pain of loss that had driven him to philanthropy. "Helping you helps me heal too," he admitted one evening over coffee. Emily nodded, her heart swelling with kinship. This stranger had become her anchor, proving that family wasn't always blood. As remission loomed on the horizon, doctors marveling at her progress. Emily's success snowballed. Alex featured her in a small exhibit at his gallery, a chic space with white walls and spotlights that made her paintings glow. Opening night was electric. Soft jazz played in the background, champagne flutes clinked, and art enthusiasts mingled, murmuring approvals. "Who's the new talent?" one critic asked. Notebook in hand, sales poured in at 10 pieces in the first hour alone, netting her thousands. Social media buzzed. Influencers posted photos, tagging her fledgling account. Followers surged overnight. Commissions flooded her inbox. "Your story resonates," Alex told her, beaming. "People see themselves in your resilience." But amid the highs, the scar of betrayal festered. Emily couldn't forget Rick's mocking voice, her mother's averted eyes, the step-siblings' cruel photos that had gone viral in their small circle, garnering likes from strangers who found her suffering amusing. Late nights, as she scrolled through old messages, and none from her family, she plotted, not violent revenge, but something poetic, crushing. "They'll come crawling when they see," she thought, her fingers tightening around her phone. "And when they do, I'll make them regret every word." She channeled the anger into her art, creating a series called Abandoned Flames. Each piece a veiled indictment of her past. One depicted a family turning away from a burning figure, the colors searing and accusatory. Word of her rise spread like wildfire. Local news picked up the story. Cancer survivor turned street art into empire. Interviews followed, Emily carefully omitting family details but hinting at tough beginnings. Inevitably, her relatives caught wind. First came a tentative message from her mother. "Saw you on TV. So proud. Can we talk?" Emily ignored it, her resolve stealing. Then Rick, brazen as ever, emailed, "Hey kid, looks like you made it. Family discount on a painting." The step-siblings liked her posts, commenting fire emojis as if nothing had happened. Hypocrisy fueled her fire. "They think money erases everything," she seethed internally, pacing her studio. "But I'll show them." The climax built toward her major solo exhibit, Rise from Ruin, held in Alex's expanded gallery space, a converted warehouse with soaring ceilings and industrial charm. Invitations went out to critics, buyers, even celebrities. The air hummed with anticipation as setup began. Paintings hung meticulously, light suggested to highlight every brushstroke. Emily chose a sleek black dress that hugged her now healthy figure, her hair styled in waves that framed her confident face. Makeup concealed the last traces of illness, but her eyes burned with purpose. Guests arrived and drove hundreds, the room filling with chatter and the clink of glasses. Sales started immediately. A collector snapped up her centerpiece for $20,000. Emily mingled, her smile genuine yet edged with vigilance. "This is it," she thought. "The stage is set." Then, the door swung open, and in they walked. Rick, bloated and red-faced in an ill-fitting suit, her mother, wringing her hands, the step-siblings, dressed up but shuffling awkwardly. They scanned the room, spotting Emily amid the crowd. Rick plastered on a grin, striding over like he owned the place. "Emily, look at the spread. We always knew you'd bounce back." Her mother nodded frantically, tears welling. "We're so sorry, honey. We missed you." The step-siblings mumbled congratulations, eyes darting to the price tags with greed. The room's energy shifted, whispers rippled as people sensed the tension. Emily's heart thundered, adrenaline surging like electricity through her veins. She kept her composure, voice steady as ice. "Family? You mean the ones who disowned me when I needed you most?" Heads turned, the jazz fading into background noise. Rick blustered, sweat beading on his forehead. "Come on, that was tough love. Built character, right?" Emily stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "Tough love? You mocked me on the streets, photographed my humiliation for laughs. She pulled out her phone, connecting it to the gallery's projector. Up flashed those old social media posts of the step-siblings, snaps of her begging. Caption: charity case LOL. Gasps echoed. Guests murmured in shock. Her mother's face crumpled, sobs escaping. The step-siblings backed away, faces paling like ghosts. And now you waltz in, expecting a handout, Emily continued, her tone laced with controlled fury. Too late. I've built this without you. Better off, actually. She gestured to Alex, who stood nearby with Liam on his hip, his expression one of solid support. This is my family now. People who lift you up, not kick you down. Security, tipped off earlier, approached. Rick sputtered empty threats. You'll regret this. But they were escorted out the mid-stairs and whispers. The door slammed shut, sealing their humiliation. Emily exhaled deeply, a tidal wave of triumph washing over her. Relief flooded her senses, the weight of betrayal lifting, replaced by validation's sweet embrace. She wasn't the victim anymore, she was the victor. The exhibit soared after that, sales tripling as the drama became legend. Emily's story went viral. Headlines scream: cancer survivor's epic family takedown. Offers poor Dina book deals, speaking gigs, collaborations. She expanded her art into prints, merchandise, even a foundation for abandoned youth, partnering with Alex. Karma's a canvas, she joked in interviews, and I painted bold. Months later, lounging in her spacious studio overlooking the city, dog ate her feet, she reflected on the stranger's move that had crushed her betrayers. Alex's kindness hadn't just saved her life, it had rewritten her story. And in the quiet moments, as she brushed new colors onto blank canvases, she felt unbreakable, her spirit a phoenix fully risen. The autumn air was crisp, the city street alive with the hum of footsteps and distant car horns. Lily knelt on the sidewalk, arranging her paintings with trembling hands. Her watercolors glowed under the fading sunlight, blues and purples swirling into dreamlike vistas, each one a piece of her soul laid bare. Her scarf slipped, revealing patches of scalp where hair had fallen out, and she quickly adjusted it, self-conscious under the indifferent gazes of passers-by. Her tin can held $32, a meager sum against the $10,000 needed for her next treatment. Chemo left her weak, her stomach roiling, but she forced a smile for anyone who paused. Inside, her thoughts churned. I didn't ask for this. Why did they abandon me? The betrayal stung anew, Greg's cruel words echoing in her mind like it owned. A man approached, pushing a stroller with a toddler who waved a toy dinosaur. He was in his early 40s, with a weathered face and warm eyes that crinkled at the edges. His flannel shirt was rolled up, practical for dad juggling parenthood alone. The boy pointed at a painting of a starry meadow, giggling. Sparkly. The Mona Danielle, she'd later learn, crouched down, studying her work with the quiet intensity. Lily braced for pity, her heart thudding, but he asked, "You made these? What's your story?" Her voice cracked as she spilled it all. The diagnosis, her family's rejection, the desperate hustle. My stepdad called me a burden, she admitted, tears prickling. Daniel's jaw tightened, a flicker of anger crossing his face. His son tugged at his hand, but he shushed him gently, focused on Lily. Then came the unthinkable. Daniel stood, pulling out his phone. 1 second, he said, making a call. Minutes later, a woman in a sharp blazer arrived, carrying a tablet. I'm not just an ad, Daniel explained. I run a small art foundation to support new talent. Your work is raw, powerful. It's got heart. He paused, his voice softening. My sister fought leukemia. We lost her. I can't let that happen to you. Lily's breath hitched. I'm buying all these paintings, $30,000, and I'm setting up a fund for your treatments, a full coverage. The woman handed Lily a contract, her head spinning as she signed, the pen shaking in her grip. The street's noise faded. All she heard was her own pulse, pounding with disbelief. Is this real? Her mind screamed. Daniel helped pack her paintings, his son babbling happily. Get better, he said, his hand warm on her shoulder. Then come find me. We need artists like you. As they left, Lily sank to the curb, tears streaming down her face. Relief flooded her. Someone saw her, not as a victim, but as a fighter. The money meant survival, his belief meant hope. Over the next months, Daniel's foundation arranged the studio apartment, simple but hers, with windows overlooking a park. Treatments intensified, but with proper care, her body fought back. Her paintings evolved a bolder, fiercer, reflecting a spirit clawing its way to life. Daniel mentored her, his visits filled with encouragement. "You're not just surviving," he'd say, grinning. "You're building something." Her big break came a year later at a gallery show Daniel organized. The venue buzzed, exposed brick walls, soft lighting, her paintings stealing the spotlight. Critics raved, sales soared. Social media exploded with her story. Cancer survivors' art takes city by storm. Then came the moment she'd waited for. At the packed opening, Greg, her mother, and stepsisters slunk in, eyes greedy. Greg's voice boomed, fake warmth dripping. "Lily, kid, you did good. Family's back together, huh?" Her mother nodded, teary. The stepsisters smirked, eyeing the price tags. Lily's pulse raced, anger flaring like wildfire. She stepped forward, voice steady. "Family, you left me to die." The crowd hushed. She projected their old posts of her stepsisters' mocking photos, captioned "beggar vibes." Gasps rippled. Greg's face reddened. "You laughed while I begged for chemo money," Lily said, her tone sharp as glass. "Now you want my success? Get out." Security escorted them away, Greg shouting, her mother sobbing. The door slammed. Lily exhaled, triumph surging through her. She'd won not just survival, but justice. Daniel clapped her shoulder, his son cheering. Her paintings sold out that night, her future bright as the stars she painted.